Hello everybody, so welcome again to another Facebook Live from Karen and Nurture Parenting. So I hope you've all had a fabulous week, and I hope this week has treated you really well, and it's not too hot, it's not too cold, it's not raining, it's not thundering today, it's just about right. So last week I put a competition out, and it was to win a Skype or phone consultation with myself, Karen, to the value of $200, which is like, so we're going to run this competition for just one more day, just to keep you on tenterhooks. So I've had lots of entries, and the key thing is to enter this competition you have to watch last week's Facebook Live. You've got to like the video from last week's Facebook Live, like the post, and like the Nurture Parenting page. So share this onto your mother's groups, onto your friends, your sisters, your sister-in-laws, parents everywhere, because it's a great prize, and I literally will answer any question or parenting issue you have for a whole hour. You'll get all my 28 years of knowledge as a midwife and 17 years of doing baby sleep and toddler sleep work, so that's heaps. And you also get to have 2 emails as follow-up. So how's that for a prize? So just watch last week's video, like me on Facebook, and follow Nurture Parenting on Facebook. Give us a like, and you'll be entered, and share the love. So that was Valentine's Day last week, so we're going to continue from one more day to keep you on tenterhooks, and we will announce it tomorrow on the Facebook page. So lucky winner, whoever you are, you're going to get an amazing prize, so I'm so excited for you. So let's get into this week's Facebook Live. So this week has been another busy week and a heap of questions, so send your questions through. Michelle Robinson over in the Hills District. Hello, Michelle. Hope all's going well, and little Rhiannon's doing really well. So lovely to see you here. Got any more people here? Yes, I've got several people here. So send me some love hearts, send me some likes. Hope your week was fab. Send your questions in. I love questions. So I have a heap to start with. So Kerry first with her 8-month-old. We are looking for some help to transition our nearly 8-month-old son to either a bottle or sippy cup. He's been refusing both for a couple of months, so hoping you might have some suggestions. Please let me know what type of help you might be able to provide. So I think I can do a lot of help through Facebook Live rather than necessarily Kerry needing to come and see me. However, she can come and see me at the pharmacy in Bondi, and I do Skypes to sort this sort of thing out, but I think me in person is probably better because then I can look at her little boy. But I've got a few tips for you, Kerry. So this, after 4 to 6 months of age, if you haven't given a bottle or a cup, it's often really hard to start to introduce at 8 months of age. So certainly if you want to give a regular bottle, you want somebody to look after your baby, feed your baby, I suggest giving a bottle, just one a day, before 4 months of age. It will not stop breastfeeding. This nipple teat confusion, I have never seen it in my career as a midwife. And you've got to think, babies are on special care, and they're tube fed, and they end up going home breastfeeding, and they have bottles in special care as well. So the chance of it happening is remote if you're just doing one a day, and I'd advise using a pigeon peristaltic, a wide neck teat with bottle. They're often the best. I've got a great video on my YouTube, how to give a bottle to a breastfed baby. Now, some other suggestions that I've got for you, Kerry, are I would look at something like a Wow Cup. Now, this is the Tommy Tippy equivalent. Not sure if some of you have seen these out there. Dentists seriously love these. They don't cause any teeth issues, any speech, mouth issues. So these are really fabulous. They work on like a valve system, so the baby pushes down on this area here, and that releases the fluid inside the cup. So these can be used from 6 months of age, certainly 8 months of age. So you might find using a hard spout sippy cup better from 6 to 8 months, and then using this around 8 months plus. So a Wow Cup, W-O-W, made by an Australian mum. Aren't all the best things made by Australian mums? Sorry, English people and American people out there. Naughty English person here. So, yeah, the Wow Cup is really amazing. My dentist, who sees lots of kids, he loves the Wow Cup. Hiya, Pooja. How you doing? I hope I said your name properly. I think I did too. So, the Wow Cup, But this is a Tommy Tippy version. I got this from the UK when I went over there in July, August. I went into Boots, the chemist store over there, and had a little search around, and this is the equivalent. It's much cheaper. This was about £7.99, whereas I think the Wow Cup is about $30, which would work out as a lot more expensive than the Tommy Tippy version. So hopefully this will be able to be sourced in Australia. So maybe I should have that in my shop. So if you'd like it in the shop, let me know and I will put it in there. So I think it should belong with Karen's favourite things. Now, other things you can do with an 8-month-old. Now, in the UK, when I was working there as a midwife, we actually cup-fed breastfed babies from newborn. And it's not a practice that I've seen in Australia. I see a lot of syringe feeding over here. Now, the World Health Organisation, Baby Friendly Initiative, they love cup feeding, and cup feeding is done, it's really safe if it's done, properly and really well. And it is the same as breastfeeding. So breastfeeding and bottle feeding has different actions with the mouth and with the tongue and with the jaw. So it's different swallowing techniques. So going straight from the breast to a cup works much better. Bottles interfere with that sucking process. So if your baby's over 6 months of age, I'll just go straight to a cup. Even just an ordinary cup that you've got. You might not even find the hard spout or the Wow Cup works for your baby. So straws don't tend to work as well. Straws you can only use after about 8-9 months of age. So I want to look at teeth next, because we're looking at cups as well. So the reason I don't like bottles long term is because they cause tooth decay. And what happens with bottles is they constantly comfort suck, so they lie back and that sugar is constantly in contact with those teeth. And with those, those early teeth have no enamel on them hardly. And so if we're giving lots of things with sugar in, even milk. Hello, Michelle. Even if you're giving milk, even if you're giving breast milk, if you're doing breastfeeds at night time, they are detrimental to teeth after 8-9 months of age. So at night time, the baby produces no saliva. So if you're giving like 10 breastfeeds or 8 breastfeeds or 6 breastfeeds or several breastfeeds at night time, it's actually not helping those teeth at all, because all that sugar is coating those teeth that have no enamel on them. So that's another good reason that babies really don't need night feeds after 6-7 months of age. So I know some people might find that controversial, but if we're looking at teeth health, dentists would definitely agree with me, and the oral hygienists out there would definitely agree with me, that, and I know Michelle is one, so hi Michelle, that any sort of sugar, whether it comes from milk, whether it comes from formula, whether it comes from cow's milk, whether it comes from fruit juice, all causes tooth decay. And we're better moving off onto a cup, a hard spout sippy cup from 6 months of age. I know it's not something that's really practiced in Australia, and I'd like to see that changes and that I see less bottles. Now, when I was working as a practice nurse, and those of you that know me really well, I've been carrying many jobs, and I worked as a practice nurse for 10 GPs in Alexandria, and most of them had paediatric child and baby clients. I was doing a 4-year-old health assessment, and a little 4-year-old boy came in with his iPad tucked underneath his arm, his soft toy, and the bottle at 4 years old. So I did the assessment, and lastly I looked at the teeth, and what I saw just broke my heart, and I wasn't surprised by what I saw. So we do a thing called Lift the Lip in health, and again I've got a blog on this, and it's where we get hold of the top lip and we actually lift it up. We get hold of the bottom lip and we lift it down, okay? And we need to have a good look around those teeth at least every week, okay? And you're looking for pieces of white stuff, which is early decay, and again the pictures are on my blog about teeth, and it starts around the gum line, and then we're looking for pieces of brown decay, and obviously that is damage to the teeth. So then what happens is next, if you're using a bottle, the teeth decay round the shape of the actual mouth of the cavity. And I've seen kids in Melbourne who lost all their teeth at the age of 3 and 4. So their teeth are actually decayed to the shape of the actual bottle, and all they're having was formula and cow's milk in that bottle. So it's the constant sucking of the sugar with the teeth. Now, something else I need to cover about bottles that most people don't know. If you give a bottle to a child and that child lies back, that baby lies back, that child lies back and comfort sucks with that bottle, so they're lying semi-recumbent or fairly flat, if you put it in the cot with them, if you put it on the sofa with them, then you can actually cause ear infections So what happens with the bottle is it actually goes into their middle ear, into their ear space, and it creates a vacuum, and then that seeps through into their middle ear, and that creates ear infections. So it isn't just because nurses and midwives hate bottles. We dislike them for a reason, and it's a really good reason. So I'm looking at tooth decay, I'm looking at ear infections, and then I'm looking at speech and self-settling. You know, if you're using a bottle, there isn't true self-settling going on. So bottles are a sleep crutch, and they're just soothing that child. So while bottles are okay till 6 months of age, after 6 months, that's why we're not all that keen on them. So really prefer kids to move on to a hard spout sippy cup, and certainly by 6 to 9 months of age. So offer it with each meal time, with those solids, put it on the high chair tray, and teach them how to use it. Get them to pick it up. And for Kerry's little boy, it'll take about a week to get used to this sippy cup. So just gradually introduce it at meal times, use it with water to start with, and then use it for milk. And we should be using milk in sippy cups certainly from 8-9 months of age. I'd like to see that. Then we need to look at how we look after teeth. So teeth, we should be brushing them several times a day, at least twice a day, morning and night time. What about for milk feeds, Lauren? Yes, milk feeds, certainly from 6 to 9 months of age, we should be starting to transition to a hard spout sippy cup, and then possibly the wow cup from about 8-9 months of age. We shouldn't really be using bottles after 9 months of age, and certainly if we can stop it after 6 months, that would be really, really helpful. So just practice and practice and practice, because once you practice, that child gets used to it, and you're going to have to hold it to start with. But certainly this one here is ergonomic. So you've actually got handles there that the child can get hold of, and if you use a little cup rather than a big cup, it's going to have less liquid in, so it's not going to be as heavy. But model behaviour, you use it, you know, you get your own cup and give the child a cup and just show them how to use it, how to lift it up and what to do, because by modelling behaviour, we are showing them how to do this. If we don't model behaviour and show a child how to do something, they're just not going to learn it by chance. So it takes at least a week before this is going to happen, and you're going to get a bit of protest. It's like with sleep training. So day 1's ordinary. You're not going to get much happening on day 1. Day 2, same, slightly better. Day 3 or 4, things might get worse before they get better, because we don't like change, and babies and children are the same. And by day 5, you should be starting to get better, and by 7 to 10 days, you should be looking as though you're in clover. 10 months old, Lauren? Absolutely. Move to a sippy cup, something like a wow cup or a hard spout sippy cup. You'll be doing those teeth a big favour. Some people think that that the first teeth don't matter. Not true at all. So when you've got decay on the first teeth, it then moves on to the second teeth. So those next teeth are going to be affected too, because that decay is in that mouth, and that is a big problem. Okay, so we should be looking after teeth. We should be moving on to cups at the appropriate age. We should be stopping bottles at the appropriate age. And we should be taking our child to the dentist and getting them used to sitting in the chair, certainly from when first teeth appear. We should be brushing teeth from when first teeth appear. You might want to start off with a little bit of a muslin, and then you might need to move to a little thing that I think pigeon do them, that fit on the finger, with a little gentle toothbrush. And then you want to move to a soft toothbrush once the teeth have properly erupted, which is usually about 8-9 months of age. Okay. Yeah, other 3 never took a bottle, so it wasn't an issue. Perfect, Lauren. Great, thank you. Thank you for asking that question. Good question to ask. So, Kerry, I hope that's given you the answers that you need. So, not all babies will transition easily to a sippy cup, but you just have to try it. So, but like I said, breastfeeding and cup feeding are the same action. Or you might just want to use an ordinary cup, ordinary beaker, and just sit your child up. And so Charlie has a Jack and Jill battery brush that he loves, wouldn't use a manual toothbrush. Okay, Michelle, that's cool. Michelle's a dental hygienist, so Michelle knows more about me than teeth. So that comes from Michelle, and I'm happy to pass that on to all of you. So making toothbrush fun as well. My first Facebook Live video had about toothbrushing on there, and giving them the toothbrush in the bath. It tells you all the tips on my first Facebook Live video. Can you still put formula in a sippy cup? Absolutely, Kit. No problem at all with that. I'd just sterilise everything till 12 months of age, anything that's having milk in it. I know some people say that you don't need to, but I think this is Australia and it's particularly hot in Australia, and milk is a breeding ground for bacteria, so I'm a particular fan of sterilising anything with milk in till 1 year of age for that reason. But yeah, you can absolutely put formula in a sippy cup. Can be formula, can be express breast milk, it can be full cream cow's milk after 1 year old. So full cream cow's milk is the main drink after 1 year old if you're not breastfeeding. And just start to use water in sippy cups, or formula if you're moving from breastfeeding to wanting to formula feed. Certainly from 6 to 9 months of age, that would be really helpful. So hopefully that's covered that on teeth. Now, something that I really love, I've ordered something this week that's going to help with teeth as well. So we're having a bit of a segue onto teeth. So do you like the seamless movement onto teeth there? So I've ordered this stuff called Puriforce Remedies. I don't know why this stuff keeps coming the wrong way around when I put it up to the camera, so you just have to read backwards, but it says Puriforce Remedies. And this is baby teething drops. So it has lovely things in that are homeopathic, so chamomile, myrrh, Nux Vom and Pulse. Now I've used these before on some really serious teethers, and Jane Buckley had one of these real serious teethers, and Jane's a nurse, and we tried it out on Archie and it worked really well. So I'm hoping to put these in my shop soon, because I think everyone needs to know about these. You can only buy them online, or hopefully soon I'll be putting them in Karen's shop. So I think they're about $25, $30. But they are seriously amazing. I prefer it to Browers or any other homeopathic like Highlands. Like I said, I've tested it on the most challenging babies. That's something that's going to be coming new to nurture parenting. I just ordered a bulk lot, so I think you should be very excited about that. So I know there's heaps of babies out there this week that are teething and that are driving their parents demented. I'm going to name and shame a few of them. So I've got little Jasper over in Barrel with Taran. I have got, who else have I got? I've got Catherine's little boy, and he is giving his poor mama some grief at the moment. And there's quite a few of them out there. So teeth are not fun, I know, but managed correctly, giving them the correct analgesia, whether it's Pandol, Nurofen, or whether you're giving homeopathic stuff. Also a little acupressure point on the palm of the hand, so you get your thumb and your forefinger round that little fleshy part which is there, and press that several times a day. That really helps with teething. It's a pain reliever. Something else you can do is you can press down on the gum line, round to the ears, and again round to here quite firmly several times a day. That acupressure works extremely well. So on to Jane next. So Jane, like I said, had a shocker of a teether called Archie, and I'm now talking to Jane about Cooper. And Cooper, I've been to help recently with his sleep, and Cooper had a really bad viral infection, and he got big issues with vomiting, and then it became a psychological behavioural thing where he would make himself vomit when any thought of going in the cot without some milk arrived. And so I spent a night with Jane helping her with Cooper, and literally within one night, yes, we got the vomit on night one, but after that it didn't happen. And so after a year of vomiting, most of it behavioural, some of it actual, physical from illness, Cooper has turned around. Yay! Jane must be wrapped. I unwrapped. I'm so happy for her, and I know it was a very, very tough year for Jane. So we're doing parental presence with Cooper. And when is the best time to combine changing rooms, i.e. moving Cooper in with his brother Archie? Archie really wants to share with him, and Archie really loves Cooper, and Cooper loves Archie, as most children do. So Archie wants to share with him and moving him to a bed, and also dealing with different bedtimes. That's a great question. That's a question that I get asked quite a lot, is about when can you move the baby in with their sibling? When can you move siblings in together? And I'm a big fan of doing this, particularly when sleep has been sorted out, because I think, again, it models behaviour. So when you get another sibling that sleeps, and Archie is a great sleeper, he's been a great sleeper since I went to help them at 6 months old. I think Archie's now about 4-ish, so has never skipped a beat. So Archie is going to show Cooper the ropes of how you do this sleeping shenanigans and how you sleep through the night. And Cooper is sleeping really well now. So I think as soon as you're in that doorway, Jane, and I think you must be there by now, I think we can start to put these boys together at bedtime. So my top tips are, I would separate bedtimes out. I think you can't do the same bedtime with a 1-year-old versus a 4-year-old because they're like different books. If you try to read a story that's meant for a 1-year-old to a 4-year-old and 4-year-old to a 1-year-old, then you get fidgeting, they don't pay any attention to the book, and once the book starts going wrong, then bedtime starts going wrong, I've found. So if you have the wrong book for bedtime, that can create big issues. And if you'd like to know my favourite books on bedtime, then they are on my blog. So I've got all my favourite top 10 toddler bedtime books and my top 10 baby bedtime books. I've seen some car crashes of bedtime because of the wrong book. So books, so important that a child likes that book. When you're reading a story, I'd like to point to the cover, point to the author, point to the spine of the book, and then point underneath the words of the actual book that you're reading as your child is on your knee. Dads do a great bedtime, so get dad involved if he's home. And just use a simple book for babies, slightly more interesting words in for toddlers, but really age appropriate. Things with lovely pictures in, with lovely imagination and lovely stories in them. And I'm sure you'll find your child's favourite very soon. If you'd like to share them with me on my blog, you can put comments on there or add comments to this Facebook Live video. I'd love to know all your favourite bedtime books. Do you think that's something that I should have in my shop? Karen's favourite top 3 bedtime books for toddlers and babies. Would that be something that you'd be interested in? They're just things that I'd like to put out there. So other thing to think about, Jane, is when you're doing bedtime, separate it out by about at least half an hour to an hour, because then you give Cooper a chance to get into his sleep cycle. Babies usually take about 10-15 minutes to get to sleep, whereas toddlers take about half an hour to get to sleep. So they often are quite fidgety. So allow Cooper a chance to get into good sleep. So look at that timing and think when that possibly is, and you'll have a good idea of this over the last few weeks. And then look at putting Archie down when Cooper is properly asleep. Now tell Archie beforehand what's going to be happening. Cooper, you can tell him, he'll probably understand a little bit, but don't make a big deal with it with a 1-year-old. But Archie, definitely tell him what's going on. He'll be so excited. Tell him that, you know, it's important not to talk to Cooper as he's going off to sleep, that Cooper needs his rest, and that's really important. Praise him with labelled praise when he gets up in the morning, and both of them say, "Well done, Cooper, well done, Archie, you slept in your own beds all night and you shared a bedroom and you were so quiet. Mummy heard how quiet you were." And tell them not to talk to each other until they've both properly woken up, that they mustn't wake the other one up, okay? So Archie, that he must come out of the bedroom when he's woken up and not disturb Cooper. That's really important, because we don't want to cause a sleep problem just because he loves his brother so much, okay? And yeah, they're really my top tips. So I think once sleep is sorted, I think you can move them in together. I think it should be fairly seamless and it models sleep, so it's a great thing to do. Avoid using night lights. I know that Archie's got a night light, but it's one that turns on and turns off, and I love Archie's night light. Can you put the name of that night light, Jane, on this Facebook Live video? I went to stay in Archie's bed when I went to help with Cooper, so I stayed in a little child's fire engine bed. I had the best night ever, and she had this night light that was like a turtle tortoise thing, and it had 4 different lights, and you can press the top of it, the hard shell, and it comes out with a red light, a blue light, a green light, and I think it might be a yellow light, and it comes up with stars on the ceiling. Now, naughty Karen here, when she went to settle Cooper and went back to bed, of course, I pressed the shell and I loved it, and it made me sort of want one for my own bedroom. So I don't think I'll be getting one, I don't think I'll be allowed, but it was just so lovely. I think children have the most lovely things, and that way Archie's not going to get scared of the dark, but it's not going to be a permanent light in that bedroom, because lights in the bedroom interfere with melatonin, as you probably know. So we want to minimise their fear and anxiety about the dark, but we want to help promote good sleep for them, and not interfere with that melatonin. So tell me what it is, Jane. I would love to know what it is. I think it's a genius thing, that turtle. So hopefully that's helped you with Coops and with Archie, and I hope it all goes well. Let me know how you go. So on to next week now. Who else have we got out here? Any questions? Some comments so far. Okay. All right, I'll just check the comments and just see what people are saying out there. If you've got anything else you want to tell me. Okay, can I just have a little look at her laptop now? Yep. Okay, that all looks okay. Perfect. Yep. Oh, I've got Rachel out here. Yep, and Kirsty. Hello. All right, hello people. So next I'm going to come on to the next question. So I've got Rebecca here. Hi Rebecca. And Rebecca Harper, she's got a 5-month-old. Now Rebecca's question, this is a sleep question. So my 5-month-old has been waking every hour in the night for about 6 weeks. Should I keep putting her on the boob to get back to sleep? Also will not sleep for longer than 40 minutes at a time during the day. So Rebecca, I'm sorry to hear that, because that must be really awful and you must feel completely exhausted, and it is a really good question to ask. Now when we look at sleep and we keep on responding to crying, so the baby cries and we think, oh, they want to feed, and this happens such a lot. There's one night I went to help a family and the mum said to me, when Amelie just smacks her lips, Karen, I just reach out and get her out the bassinet and put her on the boob. Now if that baby's in the bed with you, Rebecca, or next to you, you're more likely to do this sort of thing. And I know it's really hard to ignore, and you're probably worried about other children, your partner, and this baby waking up and screeching, and maybe, you know, the next door neighbours as well. I've got Jessica out here. Hi Jessica. So I'll come back to your question shortly, Jessica. So I can see why this happens, Rebecca. Now if it's just a smacking of the lips, that's just a reflex, that does not need a feed. 5-month-olds need to have 2 to 3 feeds at night time, but hourly is a little bit excessive, and this is going to get really out of hand, and then this is going to affect your supply, and you're going to get exhausted, and then your supply gets affected, and it all becomes this massive problem. And I see this an awful lot. I see many babies at even 10 months, a year of old, having 10 to 14 breastfeeds at night time, maybe even more, and that poor mum is totally drained. So no child needs 10 to 14 breastfeeds at night time, certainly not at 1-year-old. And a 5-month-old definitely doesn't need hourly feeds. So I've been looking at the day, and I've been looking at what's happening in the day, because it could be how you're putting your baby down in the day that's caused some of this nighttime stuff. So I've been looking at some self-settling work, and looking at putting baby down awake in the cot in the day. And by awake in the cot, I mean proper self-settling, no patting, no rocking. Basically, if that baby's putting themselves to sleep, if they've got a dummy, I'd be thinking about taking the dummy away, or reducing the use of that dummy, but I'd probably remove the dummy if there was a dummy involved here. Because what happens is, they shout, we feed, and then that rewards the behaviour, and it becomes this behavioural thing of shout, feed, shout, feed, shout, feed, and this is how we get in this situation. And I come across this an awful lot. It would take one night to turn this around, okay? Now there's a few things I need to go through first before I go thinking this is completely behavioural, because it might not be. There could be a feeding issue behind this. So I'll be looking at supply, I'll be looking at how many wet nappies you get in a day, I'll be looking at the weight of the baby, and I'll be looking at previous weights and plotting on the centile charts in the blue book. And there's an app on the iPhone called Growth, and that's really important to start to plot those measurements, because you want to make sure that this is not a hungry baby. Now this happened to my own sister, and it was devastating for me. It was a really hard time for me and for my sister and for my whole family. Now her 4-month-old baby suddenly was waking up every hour and a half at night time, and Leslie had 2 children, or has 2 children, 14 months apart, 13 months apart, 13, 14 months apart, and her partner works away a lot, and so she was feeding constantly just because she was so exhausted and had nobody else to turn to. And this baby was actually not getting enough breast milk and was actually starving, was the baby. So I had her keep in a diary for a week. I looked at doing some self-settling work with her and a baby, and we plotted the measurements. And then after a week we looked at what was happening, and Tilly wasn't growing at all. She'd actually plateaued, and you know, the head wasn't growing even, and her weight wasn't growing, and it's just really sad. My sister was devastated. And she wrote a blog about this, so I'll let Julie put the blog out there about this. She skimmed over most of the details. It took me a little while to be able to read this blog without crying. It was really upsetting. Now, because she had 2 kids, it was really difficult for her to think about motilium and expressing and all those things. She had no time to do that. But I gave her the choice. I said, Leslie, you can either do the increase in supply thing, of which I've got a great blog about how to increase supply. We can look at either Motilium, which is a medication which you get on prescription, or we can look at doing some herbal, some homeopathic stuff, looking at things like herbs of gold, blessed thistle. We could look at things like fenugreek. We could look at, you know, some lactation cookies. There's lots of different products that are great for lactation. That's something that I'm going to be looking at further on this year, about some working with a naturopath and looking at natural products for helping with increased lactation. Because not everybody wants to take Motilium. And looking at expressing, but, you know, expressing 4 to 6 times a day and doing all this, you know, topping up as well was not an option for my sister. And so she came to the decision eventually that she would have to give formula. And it was a big thing for her, but then she got over herself and realised, well, I was fed on formula, so was it a real big issue, Karen? I'm a healthy person, I've got no allergies, and the irony is that I was the only fully breastfed one in my family who ended up with lots of allergies, asthma, eczema, hay fever, lupus, antiphospholipid syndrome, lots of autoimmune stuff, and food allergies. So just unfortunately that I was breastfed, but all these things happened to me. So Leslie said, look, I wasn't an formula fed, nothing happened to me, Karen. I said, exactly, Leslie. So that's how you have to look at things. Sometimes you just got to look at things in perspective and go, this really is not working out. It's not helping my mental health. It's not really the best thing for my baby. My baby's actually starving. So Rebecca, I want you to look at this and think, is it a feeding issue or is it a settling issue? Because if we try and settle a baby when they're hungry, never mind the fact that it's mean, it's not going to work, and your baby's going to get very upset, and we need to work out what exactly this problem is. So it's never as easy as waking every hour, what is the problem? So if you're not sure what's going on, Rebecca, and if you've plotted the measurements on the chart and you're still not sure, ask me for some help, because this is something I can definitely help with. I've been a midwife 28 years. I'm a child and family health nurse. I've got an extensive knowledge of breastfeeding. I have people around me that are lactation consultants and naturopaths, etc. So we can look at everything holistically for you, Rebecca. But if it is sleep that is the problem, then we need to look at some resettling and teaching your baby how to do this. And I've been helping a few babies recently. I went to help Dipti recently with her baby who was doing something very similar. And babies, like I said, they get into this little habit. So I think it's worth either, if you're in Bondi, come to see me at the pharmacy tomorrow. I'm there from 10 till 1. Or doing a phone or Skype consultation with me. We can do a lot that way. But around 4 or 5 months of age is a classic time when supply can be affected. And sometimes you don't realise it's happening. Sometimes you think your baby's doing okay. And then you realise by looking at the charts and this is not okay. So is that baby self-settling in the day? What is behind this hourly waking? Okay. So I'd like to look at it first, what is it, before we start to move into what to do about it. So I hope that's helped you, Rebecca, and that's how I problem solve as to what issues are. And I think those blogs will help you when you've had a little read through them. So all my top tips are in my blogs for how to manage these particular issues. So I have another question here from Linda, and then I'll be coming to everybody else's questions. So Linda sent this in just this morning. So Matthew had his best night last night, went down at 6 o'clock, got up for the day at 7 this morning, had his normal 2 feeds, but didn't have his first feed till 12:30. So a few wake-ups, but he's self-settled by himself. Yay! So last Friday I helped Linda on the phone because I was chock-a-block and my diary is a little bit busy, shall we say. And I realised I couldn't get to Linda as quickly as what I would like to have done. And so I said, right, would you like 10 minutes on the phone with me now as I'm driving to my visit, and would you like it for free? Linda said yes. And I think Linda was quite, I thought it was last Friday, or anyway, last week it was sometime. I think Linda was quite wise. No, I think it was last Sunday. Linda was quite wise to do that. And it sounds like it's paid off. So I told her to go and buy my book, I'm a New Mum and I Don't Know What to Do, and then I talked her through it for 10 minutes. And literally this has turned her life around. So it seems like when he wakes between sleep cycles, it's more likely he will settle back quicker if I leave him. And I think that's really important, that we tend to jump on stuff. So pausing, waiting and seeing. You know, have you got several minutes of constant crying? If there are pauses in those several minutes, reset the clock. You don't need to jump on this situation straight away. And then what we do is when we intervene, when they're actually pausing between sleep cycles, and there's not constant crying, is we are causing a pattern to emerge and reinforcing that behaviour. So letting the baby just wait and see. And there's a blog I wrote ages ago about the pause. Now in this new sleep book that I'm furiously trying to finish at the moment, there is a massive thing about the pause in there, and it is actually part of the book title. So it tells you exactly how long you need to wait. Okay, and it describes exactly how you need to manage this pausing, so get very excited. But just wait a few minutes, and Linda's completely right. Generally it takes about 5 to 10 minutes of crying, constant and on and off, then he'll settle back to sleep. Is it okay to leave him this long? Absolutely, Linda, absolutely fine. If it is like, and there are pauses, leave him. It is not going to cause abandonment issues, you're not going to cause any mental health issues, you're not going to destroy his brain, I promise. These are babies that are loved, okay? I want you to remember that loved babies will protest a bit. And if there are pauses, that is not a stressed baby, okay? And by pauses, I mean 5-10 seconds, because I know myself personally that a stressed baby, a baby that needs help, does not pause for breath. Not at all, not one iota. So can I give you all permission out there that if your babies are pausing between sleep cycles, if they're pausing as they go off to sleep, that you allow them to try and self-settle. Let them try and do it. There is no need to jump on things. Okay, so, yeah, she says, have found if I go in and try and help him, it takes longer or he gets more worked up. Yep, there is a finite time that most babies should be allowed to settle within, and after that, once the crying gets constant and they're escalating, that's when you need to go and help them. So I agree, leave it a little bit. And 5-10 minutes I think is perfectly fine. Isn't it the time it takes a mum to have a shower or get a breakfast in the morning or to grab a cup of tea or whatever? So I think 5-10 minutes is perfectly okay. Questions I have for your Facebook Live today are, Matthew feeds 3 hourly, and because of the cat napping, the sleep feed play doesn't work. Sometimes his feed is right before a nap and he ends up falling asleep, and I try to wake him gently, but it doesn't work, so I put him down to wake him up and he gets really angry, so he starts the settling process already worked up. What should I do to try and avoid feeding him before a nap? And you will find that if you're trying to feed directly before the nap, they will go to sleep because of the tryptophan in the breast milk. So I would keep the light on, I would not feed that close to a nap. So if you think he's tired, don't feed, just put him down. Also, put him in his little sleep suit, either if he's in a swaddle still or if he is in a little sleeping bag, put that on after you've done the feed. But if you notice those eyes are starting to go and that breathing is changing, then take Matthew off. Don't let him fall asleep on the booby. So even if you think it's not a full feed, it doesn't matter, particularly when the fact it is a top-up feed. It doesn't matter, just take him off and put him down, Linda. So I hope that's helped you. Okay, you can stretch to 3.5 hours between feeds now. If I feed 3.5 hours, then he'll have 4 feeds during the day instead of 5. Could this result in more night waking? So at this sort of age, I think 3.5 hours between feeds is absolutely fine. I don't think it's an issue. Obviously, if you don't feed enough in the day, they're going to be up more at night, but I think 4 feeds is absolutely fine for during the day, and then 1 to 2 feeds at night time, completely fine. Particularly if you're doing like feed, play, feed, sleep, no, more than happy with that. It's more to do with the self-settling with the night waking. That's the important thing. Okay, so when it's nap time and we're out, what would you suggest I do? Is it okay for him to fall asleep pushed in the pram or in a driving car? Will this affect his self-settling? Now, it's the balance. It is the ratio of how much settling, how much sleep you're doing outside versus in the house. Now, motion is a massive sleep association. I'm going to tell you 2 funny stories now. So one was a mum I'd heard of, who was going round the tunnels on the E-tag every day for naps, every day, because then she didn't have to stop at traffic lights. And as a result, her E-tag bill each month, wait for it, bill shock, was $1,200 each month. So I told her friend, look, to tell her that Karen is much cheaper than the E-tag bill. So if you did a visit from me in the day, that'd be less than half that E-tag bill. Wouldn't you like that? So motion becomes massive. I've also heard of parents going round in Centennial Park, because again, the park at Randwick, Centennial Park, it's on a circuit, and you don't have to go round any traffic lights. But never mind that you're wasting 2 hours of your precious time that you could be doing some me time, mums out there and dads. Never mind that it's affecting the environment, that we're causing greenhouse gases, but apparently global warming doesn't exist, so I'm completely wrong. I think it'd just be nice to have a baby who settles in the cot, because then you're more likely to end up with catnapping and some serious big problems, certainly as baby gets older. So I would look at doing some self-settling work and just avoiding doing these sleeps outside. But I understand you've got other children. It isn't practical to do all sleeps in the house, and everybody would go stir crazy, and toddlers need to get down the park at least once a day. But I would do the short nap in the sling, in the ergo, in the behaviour, whatever carrier you're using. I'd do the short sleep in the stroller. I'd do the short sleep in the car. Never transfer under 20 minutes, always transfer after 20 minutes, and hopefully a sleep cycle if you have that ability to do that, which is 40 minutes. So when we do short naps in the car, 20-minute naps, that's when we cause some serious problems. I had a child going to daycare, and mum was taking the other sibling, the baby, the 6-month-old, and the journey was only 20 minutes, and so it caused a serious problem with catnapping. So then the granddad had eventually to take the toddler to school, to daycare, and mum had to stay at home with the baby because it just wasn't workable, this 20-minute trip. So if you can keep that trip to 40 minutes, it is much better than doing a 20-minute trip. Okay, last question is regarding my toddler, 2 years, 11 months. Yay, a toddler question. So wanted your advice on, I love toddler questions, by the way, so send all your toddler questions in. I don't just do sleep or babies. Last question. Okay, wanted your advice on potty training. There are days when I catch her about to poo and ask her if she needs to poo. She'll say yes and usually easily sit on the toilet and do her business. But then there are days when she will yell and scream if asked or runs away. Eek. She doesn't tell me when she needs to use the toilet for wheeze or poos either. Okay, so I would be saying, is that toddler really ready? So then we look at toilet learning versus toilet training. So I would be looking at setting some time aside, a week or two, and working intensively on this, and telling the toddler, when you're ready to go for a poo or a wee, tell mummy. Now it's more like the wees come first, so I'd work on poos later because of all the nerve endings. Girls at 2 years, 11 months should be quite easily to toilet train. Have they got language to use those words? So talking about the words to use with potty training is important as well. Have you got a stool for the toilet so they can stand up on the stool to get up on there? Or do you want to use a potty? And you might need to take the potty out and about with you just in case you get caught short. If you're getting more failure than success in that week when you put that time aside, then look at stopping that potty training because obviously they aren't ready. But they need to be able to tell you, you're totally right, Linda, that they're ready to go rather than they have been. If they're just telling you that they've been, then their nerve endings, their body isn't producing all the hormones they need to produce to tell you that they are ready. So, great question. So they're the key things with potty training and toddlers. And once you think they're ready, then I'll be looking at doing a reward mechanism. So giving a chocolate button after each little performance on the toilet, big hand claps and high five, fist bump, and telling them how well they've done. Reward charts, star charts can help, but I think we overuse reward charts and star charts. But I'd only use it for 1 to 2 weeks, but I'll be looking at toilet learning and are they ready. So once they're ready, you should just be able to do it really easily within a week or 2. And then nighttime dryness comes second, often around 3, 3.5, and boys are often later than girls. At potty training it can even be 4 or 5 years old. So it's better to look at learning than training, but sometimes you need to do training to get them into daycare, so it is just worth a try, because sometimes toddlers can be a little bit lazy and not want to do it, and I can understand that. So when you notice they're doing little jiggly movements and going behind the couch or whatever it is that they do when they're doing a number 2 or number 1, then it is worth saying, do you need to go to the toilet? Do you want to go for a wee? So if you're looking at potty training, then you're looking at maybe told them that every 2 hours. It takes about an hour or 2 for 50 mils of liquid for them to need to use the toilet afterwards. So that's just something useful to know about. And I've got some great blogs on potty training and learning, and I think Julie's putting those out for you now. So I'm going to come back to, I think I had a question from, let's just go to this, from Lauren. Okay. So there's a little flurry of questions came in just then. Just let me get to them now. So Michelle's got a question. Is there a sleep regression or change around 14, 15 months Rihanna seems to be in a transitional period. I'm not sure when to stop the morning sleep. Yeah, that's a great question, Michelle. I think it's really tricky, this sleep transition at 1 year old, because some don't need the sleep around 1, some still like to have 2 sleeps, day naps, till around 16 months. So once you're getting real difficulty with getting them down in the morning for sleeps, or you're finding that they're not tired at night time to go down, that's the time to transition, to move down to 1 sleep. But once you're getting 3 to 4 mornings out of 7, then that's the time to do it. But some days you might find they need a nap and some days they don't. So if you're taking more than half an hour and you're battling in the morning, then just forget that morning sleep. And just try again the next day and see what happens over a week or 2 before you start to go, right, that needs to go completely. Because it won't happen just like that, it'll happen gradually. So I hope that's helped you, Michelle. So naps, I think, is up there with potty training. So great question to follow on from potty training. I think it's one of the big things that causes angst. And just let it evolve. Try not to manage it too much. Let it just happen. That's the best way to approach the nap thing. Toddlers will do what they feel like doing. And I can't believe that Rihanna is 14 months old. But that is a really cute age. So that's lovely. So I hope you're doing well today, Michelle. Hi. So Jessica Mary Viviani. She's got a 4.5-month-old who wakes an hour into his 2-hour lunch nap and 1 to 2 sleep cycles into his bedtime. He sleeps well after that, but I just can't seem to break the first sleep cycle. He has a max of 3 to 3 hours 15 days sleep and can self-settle for everything. Any tips? Thank you. Great question, Jessica. So, big things I'll be looking at are, is he falling asleep on the boobie if he's breastfed? That's a classic cause of waking up an hour into the lunch nap. Or are they going down overtired? Or are they undertired? So they're the 2 key things that we're looking at. Timing. Is the timing right? When you're feeding them on the boobie, try and make sure that they go down awake. That is really, really vital to stop this happening. And once you see their eyes starting to go, their breathing start to change, take them off the boobie, even if it's not a full feed, and put them down awake in the cot. Same for night time as well. So that's my key thing there. If it's dummy related, then I'll be looking at settling without the dummy, because that can cause, again, that to happen. And I think that is everything for today. Let me just check through everybody's little messages and comments. So there's some really good questions today. I liked those. In fact, I've done some really good questions ever since I've been doing Facebook Live. So, and there's heaps of you here today. So I'll tell you who's here today. So we've got Adriana. Hello, Adriana. So Adriana is my partner's niece over in Wollongong. So thank you for joining us, Adriana. Hopefully I will get to see you soon. I don't get to see people enough nowadays because I'm always working. Joanne, hi Joanne with Miss Sarah. Hope things are all good with you. And I've got Steph out there. Hello Steph, hope you're well. And Natalie, hello Natalie. I did a telephone consult with Natalie. Hope things are all good with you, Natalie. And Cassandra, hello Cassandra with her little boy. Hope things are good with you, Cassandra, and going well. I bet he must be coming up to like over 1 now, is he? Yes. And who else have we got here? We have got Jessica, we have got Nomali, we have got Michelle Alifano, I've got Dominique, I've got Melinda, hello Melinda, and Michelle, and we have Sophie, hello Sophie, hope your little man's doing really well. I spent New Year's Eve with Sophie, so I was a real wild party animal on New Year's Eve with Sophie. Not, but we got the little man sorted, so that's really good. Oh, Michelle, I was wondering who sent me an angry face. That's your husband. Obviously, sense of humour, Michelle. I will let that just go by. Hi, Craig. Not angry. Not. Okay, Linda's with me as well today, and I've got Jess Finland with me, Kayla, and her little boy Riley, who is so cute. So I hope you've all had a really good Facebook Live with me today. Send in your questions, anything at all. It can be toddlers, it can be babies, it can be feeding, it can be sleep, it can be potty training, it can be anything at all to do with development. Just test me out, I'm like the Oracle. So those of you that entered the Facebook Live, we're going to be drawing it tomorrow. So watch last week's Facebook Live, like the post, like the video on Facebook Live. Like us on Facebook, so like Nurture Parenting on Facebook, and then we're going to draw it at random and we will announce the winner tomorrow, and the winner gets to win a 1-hour phone consultation or Skype consultation at the time of your choosing with myself, Karen, and you get to literally ask me anything at all. If, say, you haven't got a problem, and you might not have a problem, and that would be lovely if you don't have a problem, pass it on, share the love, pass it forward to somebody that really needs it. I think that'd be a lovely way to share a Valentine's prize of a Facebook Live, Facebook, you know, a Skype and phone consult. I think that's a lovely thing to do, is to pass some love out there, send some love out there. Karen loves sending love to people out there. So have a fabulous week, everybody. I'm going to go now because I must get back to editing and writing and blogging, because I've been slightly tardy recently with all of that. So, and then I should have an ETA for this sleep book to come out. So have a lovely week, and I shall check in with you again next week. So bye from Karen.